rule number 4 in Men of Action, social media is fake and I'm okay with that. So was Tom Cruise an actual fighter pilot? Did he actually fly against the Russians, or was it fake? Was it fake? But his status was real. He's one of the most famous people in the world. No, all status is perceived, then no status is real. And because no status is real, then therefore no status can be fake. If your status is fake and you make money from it and the money is real, was the status really fake? Bro, I've been to parties before where people are just surrounding O.J. Simpson. You know, most people believe he was tried for murder, stabbing his ex-wife and her friend 56 times. And these people all wanted to meet him and hang out with him. And you think status is real? You think status is fake? You think, no, status is only perceived. What's going on, guys? Michael Sartain here. And I'm back in the greatest city in the world. I don't give a anybody says. It's Las Vegas, Nevada. There's no place in the world where you can have more fun with less effort. There's no humidity. We have no state income taxes. There's no traffic. The air quality here is perfect. The people are all in phenomenal shape. I'm not talking about the tourists. I'm talking about the people who live here. I love this city so much. I could go on for an hour just talking about why this is the greatest city in America. Anyway, so the thing I want to talk about today is this concept of things being fake or inorganic. So this is a common thing that I've heard people say, is that whenever you build your social status using like social media, that it's fake or it doesn't feel organic. So there's something that's really difficult for a lot of people to understand, which is this concept that rule number 4 in Men of Action, social media is fake and I'm okay with that. There is no such thing as actual status. This is gonna blow some people's mind. I need you to really pay attention to what I'm saying. Most of you have always believed that status was this physical thing that you could touch and hold on to. But status is only perceived. We've talked about this in other videos. Status is only perceived. So if status is only perceived, then there's no such thing as real status. So let's use a couple of examples. Chris Williamson, we talked about this before. Chris Williamson was on a reality television show, and he transmuted that energy, all that fame from the reality TV show, to starting his own podcast. He had a small following. That following got to a bigger following, and it allowed him to grow into, one of the bigger podcasts in the world right now. So is that status real or is it fake? Remember, he was on a reality TV show. You can't get much faker than that. He took what you would consider to be fake or inorganic. You guys know reality TV, it's scripted. I was on 3 different reality TV shows and they tell you what to say the whole time. I probably broke an NDA right now. These shows are scripted. Now, is his fame real or is it fake? I'll give you another example. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise played a lieutenant F-18 or F-14 fighter pilot, okay, in a movie, and he became incredibly famous because of him playing this person in a movie. So was Tom Cruise an actual fighter pilot? Did he actually fly against the Russians, or was it fake? Was it fake? But his status was real. He's one of the most famous people in the world. He made a bunch of money from it. So because of his fake status, he became really famous. I can name 100 different examples of people who are famous for just being famous. Like when you realize Kylie Jenner is a billionaire now, right? Why are they famous? What is their talent? What was Kim Kardashian's talent that caused her cousin Kylie to become, and by the way, Kylie got a pretty big head start because of her cousin. What did she do that was real? Now, here's another thing. There's a bunch of, Bruce Jenner was a decathlete, right? Kylie Jenner's stepdad or whatever. Kylie Jenner's dad. He was a decathlete. He actually did something that you might consider to be real, like real status. But let me ask you a question. Can you name 3 other decathletes? I'll wait. Who are the other decathletes you know about? Anybody? Who are they? Tell me their names. Name all the decathletes that you know. My point is, while he may have done a real thing, there's a bunch of other people that did real things, had real accomplishments. Like you guys probably know who Warren Buffett is, and a couple of the people like Jamie Dimon that are in finance that are really famous. But if I asked you to name for me like 10 hedge fund managers that were really popular, unless you guys work in finance, guys might know the answer to this. These people had real accomplishments. You want to say that because their accomplishments are real, then their status is real. But yet I can show you all these people who didn't really do a real thing, but yet we perceive them as being high status. And what I want you guys to understand is that status is not a physical object. Status is not a 3-dimensional heavy thing that you can touch. But here's a tricky part, we'll get to this later. Status does not have mass, but it does have momentum. Status does not have mass, but it does have momentum. It's really interesting thing for me to explain. I'll try to explain it to you later. And if you really want to think about it, just think about someone who was famous is not famous anymore. If status had mass, then they would be famous forever, but they're not famous anymore because their status had momentum and they lost the momentum, okay? So I want you to consider if something it feels inorganic or it feels fake, it doesn't matter because status is not real. Status is only perceived. If it's only perceived, then it is neither real nor fake. It's just a perception. So another example would be, I have a car. So we use status. We're going to use status and value as analogous right now. If I have a car and I believe that this car is worth $400,000 and someone else believes the car is worth $50,000, because we can't agree on its value, then there's no transaction. But if we agree, let's say I have like a McLaren or a Ferrari, and I say, well, I think this car is worth $400,000, and you're willing to buy it for $400,000 because we both agreed on its value, that's its actual value. And when you look at things like the S&P 500, you look at any kind of stock, whenever we talk about a stock price, what we're talking about is the last price at which it was transacted. So because where does that value come from? It's because your perceived status of that equity and my perceived status, so my perceived status to sell it and your perceived status to buy it, because those numbers equaled, they were the same number, then we transacted, and then therefore that's what the value of that equity becomes, okay? Or the value of that car that we transacted, or the house, or whatever it is. So when you understand that a value of something only comes from perceived status, or the perceived value of two different people, then you realize that none of this has mass to it. Remember, value and status can have momentum, but they don't have mass. It's very much like a photon. If you guys ever studied physics, a photon it's like a massless particle. It's very similar. And by the way, if you have enough photons moving in the same direction, they actually do have momentum. They have energy behind them, but they don't have mass, okay? So I want you to think of status almost like something like that. So now, because you understand that all status is perceived, then no status is real, and because no status is real, then therefore no status can be fake. So this disingenuine feeling you have when it comes to gaining status, because we get this criticism a lot, people who don't know anything about Men of Action will say, oh, you're getting fake status. Well, there's no such thing as fake status. So now you realize anybody who works in sales, you understand that you're trying to create a feeling, you're trying to use social proof in order to get someone to buy the product that you're trying to sell. If you understand that concept, then you realize that feeling that you created, it's only there for a moment. And if the guy gets off the call, then you know he's not going to sit there and buy. Well, anybody who understands these concepts, you start to say, well, I believe that the world is a meritocracy. This is a problem that a lot of guys have. They think that the world is a meritocracy, and therefore, if I have a better product than everybody else, then people will recognize that my product is better, and then I'll just sell more than anybody else. If you guys want to read Platform Closing, it's a great book by Jun Jing, I think is his name. If you read that book, you're going to understand that he thought that he had the best product, and he was getting clowned. He would go on stage, he would literally make people cry. He would give this incredible moving speech, people would clap at the end, then he'd ask people to buy his program and nobody would buy it. So the same thing you guys are going to figure out with dating. You guys are going to be this awesome dude, you're going to be the best in your field, you're going to be the funniest guy, you're going to have the most money, and you'll be like, well, because I've done all these things, then therefore I deserve women, and women are just going to come into my life because I deserve them. I deserve them. Remember, status is fake, but my accomplishments are real, therefore I deserve a woman. And you're going to keep living that life, and you're going to keep wondering, man, why is it that I never get the woman that I want? And why is it that the bag at the club, or the bartender, or the guy who's like kind of a scoundrel, kind of a pit, he keeps getting the girl, but I never get that girl? Why is that? I thought I deserved it. And the reason why you're having that problem is because you believed that there was such a thing as fake status. And it's just, there's no such thing. You've got to get over this idea. You need to understand, once again, rule number 4 in Men of Action. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. All status is perceived, none of it's real, and I'm okay with that. And the world isn't fair, and I'm okay with that. You have to understand that the world isn't fair. So you're going to sit there, you're going to be the cool guy, you're going to sit there and you're going to believe, I'm going to do what my mommy told me, I'm going to get the master's degree, I'm going to get the good job, I'm going to go to the good school, I'm going to go to church every week, and I'm going to have status, but I earned my status. My status is real. It's not fake like Michael Sartain's status. My status is real, and I'm going to get the girl. Meanwhile, you're going to meet the guy. He's going to throw the better parties than you. He's going to be funnier than you. He's going to have better social alignments than you do. He's going to be more charismatic than you are. He's going to have muscles, but like, what does it matter? Like, you don't need them to protect a woman. It's 2024. She can just buy a Glock. He's going to have all these ancestral cues of status that come from evolutionary psychology, all these attraction triggers that he's going to trigger in a woman that are going to trigger this status that you think is fake, and he's going to get the girl, but you paid attention to what school you belong to, what degree you got, what clothes you wear because your mommy told you what to wear, to be a good guy, and then your merits would then get you the good girl, and then you'd win. Those of you who've tried this before, like, there's a reason why you're watching this fucking video in the first place, because you know that this isn't how the world works. The best salespeople, the guys who are the best with women, the guys who are best at networking, the guys who are best at leadership, to be fair, all of these people understand the concept of status. They understand the concept of, I need to make other people believe that I have a certain level of status. I'm letting you guys in on a dirty little secret. We're basically hairless murder apes. If you haven't figured that out, read a book on evolutionary psychology. If you read Dr. Buss's evolutionary psychology textbook, it's literally a picture of an ape on the front of it. We are apes that are addicted to shiny little objects that make us move in one direction and away from another direction. We all want to feel better. We all want to get away from pain and move towards pleasure. Because we do those things, we see these sparkly objects and we are addicted to these things. When you guys realize how much of advertisement is based on completely illogical ideas, think about the Michelob Ultra commercials where they show these people drinking a beer that had nothing to do with status or meritocracy, and it's like good-looking people playing volleyball and hot women were showing up. How does that make any sense? How in the world does it make sense that I'm drinking beer and then hot women show up? But these beer companies would make billions of dollars from this advertising campaign because they were showing what? Fake status. Remember, when I do like this in quotations, I'm making fun of you for thinking that status is fake, right? This is in case you aren't getting the sarcasm here. There's no such thing as fake status. Always remember that, okay? So think about that. Remember the Axe body spray commercial? The guy would wear Axe body spray and then all these women would like surround him. Why is that? This is an absurd commercial that would make you laugh. But here's the thing, because the commercial was created, because you saw it on TV, and because it made you laugh, you were more attuned to it, and it was one of the most successful ad campaigns in history, that Axe body spray commercial. Dudes, like, I knew logically that these guys weren't getting girls because they were wearing Axe body spray, but internally, I wasn't able to control it. I wasn't able to see that. It wasn't actually a meritocracy. So let's go over, why does that work? Let's go over the deep cycle. For those of you nerdy guys out there, they're like, what Michael says I know makes sense, but I don't understand why. I'm gonna explain it to you. Ready? Again, we're gonna use Jonathan Haidt, his book called The Happiness Hypothesis. We're gonna use the analogy that he uses, which is about the rider and the elephant. The rider is logical. The rider I want you to think of as your conscious, and I want you to think of the elephant as your subconscious. The rider thinks the rider's on top of the elephant. He can make the elephant go left, he can make the elephant go right, but he can't make the elephant, like, say, jump off a cliff. He can't make the elephant not, like, be attracted to a female elephant. He can't make the elephant not take a poop. He can't make the elephant not be hungry. He has some control, but he thinks he has a lot more control than he actually has. And if it came down to it, the elephant got really pissed off, the elephant could just throw the rider off. The elephant's really in control, but the rider thinks he's in control. That's how your mind works. Your conscious thinks it's in control, but your subconscious is actually in control. And the other thing is that you have to understand is that the adaptations that are in your conscious or your neocortex are only like maybe a few million years old, but the adaptations that are in your subconscious, like your amygdala, your limbic system, they're several 100 million years old. So I want you to think of like a neocortex being like the hominid neocortex being like something, an adaptation that's maybe 3 million years old, but your like amygdala and your limbic system, your lizard brain and your mammal brain, I want you to think about it as being 200 million years old. So again, neocortex, the mammalian or the primate neocortex, I want you to think about being 3 million years old, and then I want you to think of the other parts of your brain, your subconscious parts of your brain, being 200 million years old. So 200 million years versus 3 million years, okay? You see the difference? So the elephant, in this analogy, is 300 million years of adaptation, and then the rider on top of the elephant is only 3 million years of adaptation. okay? Now, when you consider that, and then with Homo sapiens specifically, because they were the ones that had the bigger brains, think about that as being about 300,000 years. So 300,000 years versus 300 million years. That's about the difference. Now, what happens is you're confused because you're having a conversation. You know logically, your neocortex, you know logically, you're conscious, you know logically, the speaking part of your brain, the writer, you know logically that Axe body spray doesn't get you women. You know logically that Michelob Ultra, those commercials where those people are out there playing volleyball, they don't get you women. You know logically that's the case. But remember, the writer is not in control. The consciousness is not in control. It's the subconscious that's in control. The subconscious, remember, think about this, is the conscious more attuned to status or the subconscious? The conscious is more attuned to logic and speaking and reality. The subconscious is way more attuned to status. This is the reason why women choose men who have big, strong muscles, who are, like, consider this concept. This is a great example. Men who are taller, women tend to choose men they tend to prefer men who are taller than them. Why? Well, because it's a protective paradigm, meaning men who were taller would have more likely an ability to protect them in an ancestral environment. But a guy who's 5'9" can go buy a Glock. He can learn jujitsu. He can get so much money he can hire security. This paradigm that taller men are able to protect them is totally based in their subconscious. It's based in these evolutionary things that they learned. So a woman attributing status to a man who's taller is totally fake. Remember the fake status? I'm being sarcastic here, the fake status we talked about before? It's totally fake, but she still believes it. And if you're a guy and you know you have a ton of stuff going for you and you've ever lost out to a dude who's taller, you know what I'm saying is true. It's all make-believe. So now let's talk about a guy who's funny. A guy who's funny, like, how is that going to give her better children? Well, why is it? Because ancestrally, men who were funnier had better social alignments and tend to choose. They had better social alignments, had easier lives because of those better social alignments, and it was a sign of intelligence, right? But a lot of times, the funniest guys aren't always the smartest guys, but ancestrally, that might have been the case. So what happened? Her subconscious, the elephant. Remember, the subconscious is the elephant. It's more powerful, but it thinks it actually has more control, but it believes it has less control. The subconscious was totally and completely attuned to status, ancestral signs of status. But the conscious is only interested in logic. So it's only interested in logic and speech. And so the thing is, remember, this is the real important distinction. The subconscious has more control and is older. The conscious thinks it has more control and is younger, but it actually has less control over you. Another way to explain this is it comes from the concept of triune brain theory. So there's the human brain, there's the mammal brain, and then there's the lizard brain. The human brain is the youngest, and you have the most control over it, but it has the least control over you. The mammal brain is in the middle. It's not quite as old, but it's still older than the human brain. And then the lizard brain is like hundreds of millions of years old. It has the most control over you, and you have the least control over it. So I want you to think about like fight or flight. I want you to think about like your aversion to fire, your aversion to snakes, your aversion to like other large reptiles, your fear of heights, your aversion to the smell of sulfur, of rotting flesh. That's your lizard brain. And then I want you to think of like speech, like new adaptations in Homo sapien learning. These things would be like your human brain. So it would have the least control over you, and you would have the most control over it. But the problem is that most people think that they're just one brain, they're of one mind, and they don't recognize how status works. Now I want you to think about the same thing with women. Men are so attuned to a woman's looks. If you really wanted to find the best woman to raise children with, what would you do? You would use logic and reason, and you would pick the woman who is like the most loyal. She's somewhat attractive, but she at least has signs of health and youth, but some of them, but that wouldn't be the main reason why you would choose her. You would choose a woman who wanted to be a good mother, who showed signs of loyalty, who showed that she made healthy decisions through her whole life. She wasn't out partying, doing cocaine, having unprotected sex with random dudes, and drinking a bunch. But instead, what do men mostly choose women over? You know what it is? Women, based on these evolutionary cues that you saw that, oh my God, she's so hot, I'm going to wife that woman up because she's physically attractive. But that's not logical. Why would you do that? The reason why you do that is because the elephant is in control. The subconscious is in control. And that same subconscious part of you is the reason why you are so attuned to status, even though status isn't real. Like we talked about in the beginning, status is only perceived. So you've done this disservice to yourself by actually believing there's a thing called fake status, and because you believed in fake status, then you're like, I'm not gonna take MOA, I'm not gonna do Michael's course, because that status that Michael teaches people is only fake. And I can tell you, dude, as a guy, this is one of the biggest tricks you can play on yourself is number one, believing that. But number two, if you guys have ever actually like been in part of something where you start using things like pre-selection. Pre-selection is such a great example of this. Women seeing other women choose you and approve of you, therefore those women now becoming more attracted to you. And here's the crazy part, this is gonna blow people's mind. Pre-selection works even if the women don't think you're sleeping with those other women. Yes, it does. There's studies that show this is the case. And if you guys have ever tried to use pre-selection as an attraction trigger, you know this is true. You've seen it work firsthand. You've seen it where guys who are like just surrounded by attractive women get more attention from women because these women are like, again, remember, the logical brain, the writer is like, oh, that guy doesn't get laid. He's just hanging out with these women. But what does the elephant think? The subconscious. The subconscious is looking for these ancestral cues of status and saying, these women have chosen to be around him. There must be something going on. Remember, none of this is logical. None of this is done on purpose. All of this is subconscious. All of this is below the neocortex. All of this is in the subconscious. Remember, the conscious is the writer, the subconscious is the elephant. The elephant is actually in control. The subconscious is actually in control. And the subconscious is more attuned to signs of status, ancestral signs of status. If the subconscious has more control and the subconscious is more attuned to ancestral signs of status, then there is no such thing as fake status. This fake status you're talking to has real effects. Remember what I told you before? Status has momentum, but it does not have mass. I know I got really nerdy with you guys here, but I'm trying to deconstruct one of the most common objections that I hear when I try to get guys to get involved with like fixing their social media, when I try to get guys involved with like, hey, you need to have a bunch of female friends so that other people perceive that you're, but guys, remember, no one's cool or not cool. No one's cool or not cool. You're only perceived that way. And one of the craziest things that's happened is there's these studies that show that men who are surrounded by beautiful women or in pictures with beautiful women are perceived to be higher status. But because status is only perceived, that's the only status that actually exists. It's really hard for people to grasp this. It's really difficult. But if you've ever seen people who are actors or people who are on reality TV shows, I've seen it with my own eyes. Like the other day, there's this couple from, what's it called, 90 Day Fiance. They came to one of my events and people are like, oh man, I'm a big fan of the show. What, none of the show is real. None of it's real, bro. You guys know I was on a Bravo TV show. I was on a TV show on CBS. Bro, none of it was real. They told me everything to say. None of it was real. But the status was real because people came up to me. It's like, I recognize you from that show. They do. And it's so crazy to me that you keep seeing this over and over again. There's another thing called mere exposure effect. And what this is like, when you think about it, is that you keep seeing the same guy's face over and over again. You start to trust him and think that he's higher status. I have people come up to me all the time and goes, yo man, I've seen you on YouTube or I've seen you on Instagram. They don't even remember what my clips are about. And often I'll get people who just watch my short, like 30-second clips, my reels or my shorts. And they're like, oh, I love your podcast. Yo, they've never even seen my podcast. They've never seen one episode of my podcast. They've only seen these clips that are like 30 seconds. But what it's done is they see my face over and over again, and they assume I'm higher status. Wait a second, dog. Michael, I thought status was fake. But wait a second, they're still coming up to you. They buy your program. They let you in the club. Women come up to you and start talking to you. You end up making money from this fake status. Guys, I'm gonna ask you a question. It's very important. I want you to think about this question. I want you to think about this question for the rest of the day. If your status is fake and you make money from it and the money is real, was the status really fake? If you make money from something, if you get a tangible, real thing from something that was fake, was it really fake? Okay? I want you to think of that. I want you to consider that. I got an ultimate example here. There's a guy running around Miami. He's a doppelganger. He looks exactly like Lionel Messi. Look this up. Pause the video if you think I'm making this shit up. This dude slept with 23 women because he looked like Lionel Messi. Now, if status is real, then he should not have slept with any of these women because status is real. They should have been able to say, oh, this is not Lionel Messi. But because they only slept with him because of Lionel Messi's status, which, by the way, isn't real, status is only perceived. They only slept with him because of Lionel Messi's perceived status. These women are now suing. They're suing this guy for impersonating Lionel Messi because they ended up sleeping with him. But my question has always been this. If these women want to sue this guy for impersonating Lionel Messi, why can't Lionel Messi's wife sue these women? You wanted to have sex with a dude just because you thought he was famous. I want you to think about what I just said. These women wanted to have sex with a woman because they thought, these women want to have sex with this guy because they thought he was famous. How can you think any status is fake when you hear what I just said? They wanted to have sex with him because they thought he was famous. Wake the fuck up, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. You've got to get out of this peasant mindset that you have, that there's fake status and real status. There's status is status is status. Now, here's another thing I'm about to blow your mind with. There's no such thing as good guy status or bad guy status. We used to have, back in the day, we used to have this thing called the Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan. We knew Iron Sheik was the bad guy because he was Iranian, and we knew Hulk Hogan was the good guy because he was American. We had good guy status and bad guy status. Now it's like you have The Rock. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Who is it? Goldberg. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? I'm just using professional wrestlers if you guys don't know, right? If you think about all these guys, are they a good guy or a bad guy? Like Donald Trump, he's a good guy sometimes, he's a bad guy sometimes. When you think about Captain America and you think about Iron Man, they're both good guys, but Captain America is the good guy, like the real hero. And when you think of Iron Man, he's a scoundrel. He's kind of an asshole. He tells you to go f yourself. Captain America would never tell you to go f yourself, but Iron Man does it all the time. But they're both good guys. They both have status. Bro, I've been to parties before where people are just surrounding O.J. Simpson. You know, most people believe he was tried for murder, stabbing his ex-wife and her friend 56 times. And these people all wanted to meet him and hang out with him. And you think status is real? You think status is fake? You think, no, status is only perceived. You live in a country where a man has sex with a porn star while his wife was pregnant, got elected president of the United States. You live in a country where a man transitioned to become a woman, ran over 2 people, killed one of them, and 4 months later was given an award for Woman of the Year. You live in a country where a dude, they made a movie about him, where he ends up, this kid is barking over here. That's why these kids need Ritalin. You live in a country where a man punches his wife, kidnaps his own kid in a movie they made about him, and then you still love him because he's the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm never leaving. You love him. You think status is real or status is fake? No, bro, status is only perceived, and there's no good guy status, there's no bad guy status. If you guys have ever done all the things that were asked of you, you went off, got that advanced degree, you sit there, you code for a living, and you make products that actually save people's lives or make people money. You're an actual productive member of society, and you've ever had a woman choose some other dude over you, you know what I'm saying is true. You're like, how is it that I keep losing out to these weirdos, these low status dudes? All they do is go to the gym and make women feel a certain kind of way, and they get the girl that I always wanted. Why is that happening? And the reason why is because status is only perceived. Status is an evolutionary response that we have towards seeing certain people being able to, it's only evolutionary, it's only subconscious. When you recognize that, you understand that all status is fake, or really, there is no such thing as fake status. All status is perceived. When you can grasp that, when you can drop your ego and understand that's how the world works. Rule number 4 in Men of Action. Social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. All status is only perceived, and I'm okay with that. The world is not fair, and I'm okay with that. When you can grasp that concept, at the end, you're good to go. Now, I want to say one other thing. We talked about this before. A lot of you guys, the reason why you're so concerned with fake status or real status or whether or not this feels organic is because you care way too much about what other people think about you. And again, this is another evolutionary adaptation. You care about being ostracized from the tribe, so that's why you're so worried about what other people think about you, because in the ancestral generation, ancestral times, if you were ostracized from the tribe, you would die. It's death. It's death. If you're ostracized from the tribe, it's death. If you say the wrong thing to the wrong person and you're kicked out of the tribe, that's death. That's the reason why you're so afraid of it. And because you're so concerned with what other people think, that's why you're so worried, and you say words like, oh, this doesn't feel organic. Bro, there's no such thing as organic status. Status is status is status. All right. I hope this is able to help you guys. And once again, I hope you guys are able to take this and have a more clear understanding that we are Evolutionary creatures, we're creatures designed through evolution to look for certain ancestral cues, and some of those cues aren't real. Now, here's another thing I want to teach you. We're going to do another video on this. I want you guys to understand how to use status, but I don't want you to be subject to it. Meaning, fame brain, like what Bill Perkins, one of Dan Bilzerian's friends, talks about this, fame brain. Fame brain is something that you're going to use in order to get what you want out of life, but you're not going to let it affect you, because one other thing I want to teach you guys is that we are social media producers. We are not social media consumers. We are social media producers, and we're not social media consumers. It's okay for you guys to understand that status is only perceived and for you to not be affected by it, but you also need to recognize that the rest of the world is. If you're a salesperson, you work in any kind of influential marketing, you're an influencer, or you're just trying to get better with the opposite sex, you have to understand how status cues work. Okay, you can't deny them, and you can't talk about things being organic. That's not real. That's not real anymore, okay? But you also need to understand that those things work on other people, but because you understand how evolution works, you understand evolutionary psychology, you can transcend it. Meaning, fame brain works on everyone else, but it doesn't work on you because you can transcend it. Got it? Understand? And also you can do other things, like you can understand the evolutionary adaptation of you to get nervous when you talk to a beautiful woman. You can transcend it because you can understand the only reason why I have this fear is because my ancestors, when they talked to the wrong woman, they would die. The tribal leader would come and kill them. The fear that you have is an evolutionary fear of death. That's all it is. But you're not going to die anymore. Okay, cool, got it. I love it, man. I love being able to share these things with you. I'm going to start doing more videos like this. By the way, I live here. This is Panorama Towers, where I live, and people are looking at me crazy while I'm doing these videos, and I give this much of I don't care at all. And this is how you should live your life too. There's no risk. Go out and try stuff. You sitting there with this limiting belief that status can be real or fake is part of the reason, is part of the excuse why you don't take action. It's time for you to take action now. If you're ready to, I want you guys to go to our school group, skool.com, and just look up Men of Action. Join us on School if you want to. It's our free school group. Or you guys can find me on Instagram, where I can show you guys. One other thing I want to tell you about this. I don't just talk about it, I be about it. When I sit there and talk about networking and status, you guys actually get to see it on my social media. All right? I hope to talk to you guys soon. I'm only here, man, to try to educate, try to help you guys as much as I can to level up, because the world is teaching you bad information. The world is literally leading you in the opposite direction. The world is leading you down a path, a river, a lazy river of ignorance, scarcity, poverty, and obesity. Ignorance, I don't want to learn anything. I think I already know everything. Scarcity, no, Michael, that's just fake status. No, this would never work. This would never work for me. Scarcity, poverty meaning like mental poverty, like you don't want to learn anything, but also physical poverty, you're always in debt, and obesity. I'm going to eat what they tell me to eat. I'm going to do whatever fad workout. No, dude, your workout, whatever it is, your workout and your diet should all have an evolutionary base to it. Obesity. You eat all the sodium that we have in this country, all the trans fats, all the processed foods, and all the estrogens that are in the fragrances, the suntan lotion, all the petroleum products like plastics, all those things that cause obesity. All those things. You're going to go down this path, and I'm just trying to keep you from going down that lazy river. That's my only point. I'll see you guys in the next video.